Testing, testing. Hey, this is Sean Mack, and today I'm back. It's been a while. I'm sorry. I have this recovery teaching. Now, this is the thing. If you think getting clean, the battle is over, well, this message is for you because a lot of people can win, the first fight, like detoxing, rehab, uh, getting sober, but they lose the war after that win because they not because they didn't try, excuse me, but because no one told them what was to come next. See, I'm talking about why some people relapse when life actually start getting better, or even the silent danger of thinking, I'm good now, or why old habits don't die but they wait, you know, or why do you feel vulnerable? Why do you still feel temptation? Why do you still have the urges, even though you've been clean? Well, for one thing, you gotta know this: you have, just like me and everybody on earth, you have a evil nature. We have an evil nature. We call it a fallen nature. And with that fallen nature, you know what? We go against God. With that fallen nature, we're tempted. We're susceptible to temptation. And we can start off strong and then fall. And don't get it twisted. You know what? The fact that you can be free is from the fact that it was a resurrection. Right? Today is Resurrection Sunday. We celebrate uh, our Savior being risen, right? And it's been 12 years that He resurrected me from my grave. Not physical. Not it was before 2006. My heart stopped. If you heard my testimony, my heart stopped, and He brought me back. And I was so high. I was high off heroin. You know what? And other drugs as well. But when He opened up my eyes, when He brought me back, I was sober. Sober. Okay? So, it's been 12 years now that I've been free from crack, free from coke, free from heroin, free from committing adultery or fornicating. And I know if God, if He can save me, He can save anybody. I was like one of the worst. Okay? So, I'm going to get into the teaching right here. And the topic of the teaching is called The War After the Win. And we gotta understand this. And I'm gonna go over some things. So I want you to stay in tune, right? Here are my points. Sobriety is not the finish line, it's the start line. Number two, complacency is the enemy of long-term freedom. 3, old patterns wait for new opportunities. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, if you really in recovery, you know what? You need to pace yourself. It's a thing called restoration, where God restoring us. Even if you wouldn't on drugs, you're going through a restoration process where life is different in different aspects now that you are new. Now that you're born again, you need to learn how to walk in some stability, because a double-minded man, the Bible says, is unstable in all their ways. So here it is right here. Number 4, emotional triggers don't disappear with detox. And number 5, daily discipline sustains what deliverance started. So daily disciplines, daily prayer. Prayer is one. Prayer, talking to God. It's not some kind of ritual, or some kind of checklist. You gotta talk to God. You gotta talk to God every day. In the morning time, He's a person. He's a divine person. So it's good to talk with God in the morning, throughout the course of the day, actually. especially, in the evening before you go to bed, but through the course of the day, just have a conversation with God, get in your word, read your word, let God talk to you. When you read the word, it's God talking to you. Let God speak to you. Just like the sun, just like the plants can't do without the sun, nor can we do without the Son, the Son of God, Jesus, right? So this is the thing. Uh, sobriety is the starting line, not the finish line. In Philippians 3, verse 12 through 14, Paul said like this: not that I have already attained it, but I press on. See, Paul makes it clear. Arrival, you know what, haven't it haven't happened yet. It's a illusion, you know what, in this walk. You see, recovery is not made. It's us moving, pressing forward, right? See, getting clean is an event, but staying clean, it's a lifestyle. See, growth requires pursuit and not passivity. Growth requires intentionality. You gotta be intentional. You know what? Especially if you was on drugs for years, man, you have to be retrained on life out again. Actually, like I had to be trained on how to live life again. You know what? And it ain't just a checklist. It was it was it was a process, right? I had to learn how to live. I had to learn how to find things, new things as fun things. Because when I got bored, what do you do when you get bored? As a drug addict, as a sinner, you know, like most teens that love to party, they when they get bored, they love to party. And guess what? This is crazy. Since 16, 17, I partied. And I just knew how to party, how to have fun, how to live reckless. And now I'm learning responsibility. Now I'm learning accountability. Now I'm learning, about sin and my relationship with God. Because it ain't about just getting sober and God ain't in the equation. Because temptation flares up, you know what, to bring us to sin. Because let's be real with ourselves. Do we be tempted to cuss? I mean, that's if you ain't already just doing it habitually without a second thought or any kind of conviction toward it. You know what about do you be tempted to steal? Do you be tempted to lie? Husbands, wives, do you be tempted, to cheat on your spouse? We could be tempted to do this or that, right? You know what? That's why we need Jesus. Jesus was tempted in all points, and guess what? He wasn't defeated. He didn't sin. That's why he's able to come to our aid in our time of need. He won't put much on us than what we can bear, but he will also provide a way of escape. You gotta want to take that way of escape. If you don't want to take that way of escape, then you stay in some kind of bondage. Entertaining your urges can keep you in a dark place, right? So here it is right here. You can win the battle of detox and still lose the war of discipline if you stop pressing. See, you gotta press. You gotta you gotta pursue this thing. You gotta be intentional. You gotta have some awareness of who you are and your limits, your boundaries. You don't want to cross your own boundaries, and nor be pressured to cross over your own boundaries as well. Here's another one. Complacency opens the door to destruction. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12. It says this, therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed that he does not fall. Here it is right here. The moment you say, I got this now, is the moment you become vulnerable. You let down your guard, right? See, pride whispers and says, you know, you're strong enough. But wisdom say, hey, be watchful. And spiritual overconfidence is often a prelude to failure. Many relapses don't come from weakness, they come from overconfidence. So, there's a scripture in the Bible, it says that complacency destroys us. When we get comfortable, when you get comfortable, anything can go beyond your radar and hit the homeland, and you know it, and cause some collateral damage, you know. But you gotta stay on your guard. You see, the enemy returns looking for vacancy. And what I'm talking about demons. Like, how many of us been on a binge before? You know what I mean? Where you kept going, and it wasn't even you, it was demons. I remember, like, I would drink and smoke, and I would black out. And when I blacked out, demons kicked in. I remember it was this one occasion in the Bible where it was a man. He was in the grave around the tombs, and he was cutting himself. And he was considered dangerous to those that was in the city. They knew he was there. He was on the outskirts, you know, kind of like, you know, us, you know, that were former drug addicts. You know what? Where it let you be to do your thing, right? And Jesus came on the scene. And when Jesus came on the scene, you know what? He came running to Jesus. He said, Jesus, have mercy. You know, if I'm recalling it right, you know what? And Jesus, the demon was like, hey, have you come to torment us before time? So I know that sounded kind of crazy, but it was two interactions there. I believe the first interaction was the crowd, the man, you know, from his soul, he wanted to be free. But once he got, you know, Jesus' attention, the demon kicked in, you know. And for anybody that cast out demons or do what they call it, deliverance, know that, you know, demon come in and come out. It'd be that person, and then the demon come, you know, with his voice, and that smell. This is the thing. The enemy returns looking for vacancy. In Matthew 12:43, you know, the 45, Jesus describes a man delivered from an unclean spirit, but the spirit returns and finds the house empty and swept and put in order. And the Bible say, Jesus say that demon will bring seven more that was worse than the one that was there first. And it says the state of that person be worse than what it was in the first place. So note this, that the house was clean, but it was empty. You know what? Clean without being filled leads to vulnerability. You see, we can get clean, but God ain't there. You know what? Them demons want to take up residence again. You know, and it'll come through, you know, you having sexual urges. You be oppressed, in your thinking to lead you to do some particular sin because the demons want to come back in. See, our sin makes us a host for these demons, right? And freedom is not just removing lies, it's replacing them with the truth. You see, deliverance without discipleship leads to relapse. You see, you gotta get discipled. You need how you feel that vacancy is that's in your soul, uh, is with Jesus and being discipled so you can be transformed and come to a mature man and woman, in the Lord, bearing fruit, spiritual fruit, the fruit of the Spirit. All right, here we go. If you don't fill your life with truth, purpose, and discipline, your old life will try to move back in. When demons move back in, and demon ain't gonna care about you taking no bath. Demon ain't gonna care about you being up all day. Demon ain't gonna care at night. Demon ain't gonna care about your kids or your husband or your wife or your health or your legal. This stuff is real. You know what? Our drug addiction and these demons will have us on the outskirts of the city, living in a tent, living under a bridge, in and out of jail, in prison, or dead. That's why we need to grab a hold of Jesus. Here it is right here. The flesh doesn't die quietly. In Galatians 5:16-17, it says, for his flesh sets its desire against the spirit, and the spirit sets its desire against the flesh. It's a tug of war. Right? So even after sobriety, the flesh still has a voice. You gotta know that. It remembers the pleasure. The flesh remembers the pleasure. That's why I say this. You can be tempted by whatever you open yourself up to. There's some things I never opened myself up to. I never opened myself up to homosexuality. I never opened myself up to this drug or that drug. But the ones that I have, I know the taste. I remember the pleasure. So it can always, it can always try to hook me, right? But you gotta be full of the Spirit. You gotta, you know what? Be prayed up. And our flesh, it ignores consequences. It don't care about the consequences. It just wants pleasure. It's tunnel vision. It's crazy how, you can have a desire for the wrong thing, but but on the back end of it in our mind, we're blind and oblivious to the consequences, to family leaving, to bills, to reality. And the pleasure and everything is tunnel vision, and it ravishes us, and allures us, to the deep end, right? You see, our flesh, it waits for the weak moments. That's when, like, I want to get something to drink. You know what? I'm gonna go sleep around. You know what? I'm gonna go get high. You gotta understand this. The flesh will always resist what the spirit is trying to produce. And here's a recovery insight right here. You don't outgrow temptation. You outwalk it. You don't outgrow temptation. You outwalk it. Now, I'm going to do a big continue on this one right here. And I'm going to start with this. Discipline sustains what deliverance started. God bless you.